Dear friends, welcome to my channel Education and Career Success. Alexander became the king of Macedonia after his father Philip's death. Soon after, he conquered Asia Minor, Syria, Phoenicia, Judea, Gaza, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Bactria, Turkey and Persia. With the defeat of Persia, Alexander Empire reached the boundaries of India. Now, Macedonian king turned his attention towards India. For the Greeks, India was unknown land. Alexander recruited additional troops from Persian army that he conquered and trained them in Macedonian art of war. Now Alexander set out to conquer India. His loyal army gave him warning that India was not so easy target. But despite their objections, Alexander entered Indian subcontinent through Khyber Pass with well-trained army. Alexander's last campaign, invasion of India. The part of India which Alexander invaded was Punjab, land of 5 rivers. These rivers previously unknown to Greece. The Macedonian army advanced into Punjab region where he defeated and destroyed small local leaders. Some local leaders surrendered to Alexander without any fight. Then Alexander reached Takshashila, which was ruled by the king Ambi. The king Ambi diplomatically made an alliance with Alexander and combined his forces out of fear. But on the other side of the Hydopsis river, there was only one king named Purushottam. Greeks called him Porus. Porus, who refused to surrender to Alexander and kept his army ready for war along the Jhelum river. He was a courageous leader with a significant army guarding along the river. It was monsoon season. There was gusty winds and heavy rain. Despite pouring rain, Alexander's army marched towards western banks of the Jhelum river to attack Porus. On the opposite of the bank, there was King Porus. Porus thought that Alexander would directly emerge from the river. But Alexander did not want to attack Porus directly because there was close surveillance of Porus' army on the other side of the river. However, Alexander's war tactics helped him to cross the Jhelum river. One fateful night, Alexander divided his army into 3 groups. He kept one group of army in the virginal spot visible to Porus. This group was only to show off to draw Porus' attention. The second group was led by Alexander. The third group was preparing to cross the river out of Porus' knowledge. In the darkness of stormy night, Alexander transported his best troop outside the river with utmost secret. Alexander's war tactics confused King Porus. Despite the close surveillance of Indian army, Alexander was managed to cross Jhelum river. Alexander crossing the Monsoon river beyond the expectation of Porus. When Porus came to learn that Alexander advanced over the river, he sent his son Prince Porus to counter opponent moves. The young Porus bravely resisted the Macedonian army, who were almost crossing the river, but he could not survive in the battle. The Battle of Hydopsis was fought between Alexander the Great and the King Porus on the banks of the Jhelum river in the Punjab region of Indian subcontinent. In the autumn of 326 B.C., the two armies faced each other on the opposite banks of the Jhelum river. In order to counter Macedonian army, which was well-trained, well-disciplined, Porus employed more than 100 war elephants. Though Alexander's army was well-trained, they were not easy to fight with war elephants. Macedonian horses were not trained to fight with war elephants, so they refused to cooperate the army. It was the first time Macedonian army had to face war elephants in the battlefield. The Battle of Hydopsis started with ruthlessly attacking the elephants. The panicked elephants, which penetrated into Macedonian line and fled, killing on either side of the army. Their awful trumpeting and trampling made the Greek army trembling and shivering. Alexander's army had to face a lot of problems with war elephants that single-handedly took away half of the troops. Though Macedonian army was considerably well-trained and greater in size, they were terrified by the war elephants of Porus. A great battle was fought between Alexander and Porus. Greek historians agree that Porus fought bravely till the end. The battle causes heavy loss on both sides. During this battle, Alexander suffered heavy losses compared to his earlier battles. Alexander's clever tactics helped him to be upper hand in the battle. Alexander the great conqueror, but Porus the great defender. Throughout the battle, King Porus was still fighting on his elephant and resisted his advances. One of the Alexander's remarkable ability was to anticipate the strength of the opponent. Alexander came to realize that he was dealing with an enemy of uncommon valor. Sensing the defeat, Alexander called for truce that Porus accepted only on the condition that he would be treated as a king along with unbeaten territories. Porus gave such a hard fight that in the history of Alexander, whenever the name of Alexander is taken, the name of Porus will also be taken with equal pride. Porus is only mentioned and credited to have legendary warrior in Greek history. According to Western historians, the war ended with Greeks' victory, but Greeks never made such a claim. Greek contemporary writers describe the Battle of Hydopsis was the hardest fought battle of Alexander. According to Franklin Holt, professor of ancient history at the University of Boston, he writes in his book with reference to victory celebrations by Alexander's army. Alexander the Great Army did not indulge in any celebrations after the Battle of Gaugamela, where they defeated 200,000 Persians. There was no grand celebration after the Battle of Issu, where they defeated a mixed force of Persian and Greek mercenaries. But why did they celebrate victory after the Battle of Hydopsis? They celebrated victory after the Battle of Hydopsis because they considered themselves lucky to be survived after clash with the Hindu army. Alexander's invasion of India is a landmark in the history of India. Some historians say that Alexander's forces had defeated Porus, and some say that Porus had defeated the Alexander forces. Yet, it doesn't matter who emerged as victorious. It doesn't matter what really happened. But no doubt, Alexander's downfall started in Indian subcontinent. Since childhood, Alexander had a spirit of war and restless energy and a considerable amount of self-belief in him. But his battle with the Indian army demotivated him. According to Plutarch, the Greek historian, the combat with Porus took the edge of Macedonians' courage and stayed their further progress into India. After seeing heroic resistance put up by Porus, Alexander could not proceed further conquest of India. The Battle of Hydopsis was the most important event in Alexander's life because it blunted the courage and war spirit of Macedonians. During this battle, Alexander suffered heavy losses compared to his earlier victories. It is in this Battle of Hydopsis Alexander came to learn that Indians were superior in stature and courage. One tragic incident that devastated Alexander was his favorite horse Bucephalus died of battle wounds. Bucephalus was his battle companion for nearly 2 decades. Riding on this Bucephalus horse, Alexander won victory after victory. Riding on this horse, Alexander created his mighty empire. The death of Bucephalus was a sentimental setback to Alexander. Alexander founded a city named after his beloved horse Bucephalus. In the Battle of Hydopsis, Alexander came close to the defeat. It was reported that Alexander fell headlong to the ground but saved by his attendants. It was after this battle in Indian subcontinent, Alexander's army lost their spirit of courage. Alexander wanted to push into India, but rumors spread that gigantic army waiting to attack them. According to the Greek sources, the heroism of minor king Porus was equal to Alexander. Think about Nanda Empire. Nanda Empire was 5 times larger than Macedonian army. So, his tired army refused to continue further into India. They insisted Alexander to return to Macedonia. So, Alexander could not conquer all Indian subcontinent according to his initial plan. Alexander took the return journey in a different way. They did not take the same route as they had come for conquest. On the way back, He faced severe resistance from local tribes. Alexander had great passion for battles and glory. He had no self-control to keep himself from dangers. He was never a spectator in battles. Some of his biographers mention that his behavior was that of soldier, not that of leader. It was reported that in his fight with Malians, he received an arrow from Malian warrior. Though he defeated Malians, the Macedonian king, severely wounded as the arrow penetrated into his lung tissue, he was almost killed in this fight. Alexander's conquest of India was a strategic blunder. When a war between two neighboring countries, there are countless reasons like water, land, other resources. But why did Alexander wanted to conquer India? To Alexander, India was not an age-old enemy like Persia, not even neighboring land like Greece to in Macedonia. To Alexander, India was unknown land. Alexander's invasion of India definitely tragic blunder because he sacrificed his large number of troops without gaining significant territory. Nor he could left any lasting impact on Indian culture. His return journey that took 10 months. Alexander led the army by the land through Gertrudian Desert, today in southern Pakistan. But extreme heat and lack of food, shortage of water led them terrible suffering. Alexander lost most of his army. Alexander's most trusted friend, Apostolakis, died of fever. While returning to Babylon, Alexander himself developed a sort of fever and died days later. The prophecy of Diogenes came true. If your goal is to conquer the world, you would never come back to Athens. Yes, Alexander could not come back to Athens. He died in the middle. Probably his war-ravaged body could not survive for a long time. Most reports claim that he died soon after returning home from India. Thank you. Happy learning.